Hello everyone, and welcome back to a special version of the Axel and Friends podcast. My name is Axel Blaze. For those of you watching this on YouTube, sorry if you are on Spotify, I visually am back in front of the bookshelves in my duplex, the place where everything began for this iteration of the channel to do a special Q&A for you guys. Like I said in the last video, my thank you video that I had, the channel has officially reached monetization. And I have every intention of getting this channel off the ground, doing some fantastic things with this channel. And in the next few months, I hopefully will have some very exciting news for you guys, exciting plans to really get things going on. But for now, I wanted to celebrate my monetization by doing a Q&A with you guys. And I've been floating around the Q&A for a while now, and I thought this is the chance to do it. Because this is one of the biggest milestones that my channel has. Hopefully not the last one, and I have, like I said, every intention of making sure that it isn't the last milestone that I have, but again, I digress. So for this episode of the Axel and Friends podcast, the Axel Spotlights, because it's just Axel minus the friends. The friends are the ones that ask me the questions, though. I'm going to be going over the questions that were submitted to me on Twitter, as well as YouTube, from the last video, and answering them here. I've sorted them from kind of miscellaneous questions in the beginning to some manga-specific questions in the middle and Shonen Jump ones at the end, just so that for the stuff that is more spoilery to the end, I can give spoiler warnings at that point. But I will have I'll have chapter indications and whatnot, so you guys can kind of jump around to see what questions I've been asked and how I've answered them. That being said, I did not memorize the questions, as awesome as that would be. I have them on my phone, so I will be addressing them as we go on. But yeah, without further ado, let's get this Q&A started. So, we start off the Q&A with a very important question submitted by Mmbro. Who made you want to have that deep-ass voice? Well, in terms of the voice, I will say this. The thing that I love about my voice is the fact that it actually kind of drives the masked man crazy, to the point that he says he will do voodoo in order to steal my voice if he had the chance. All jokes aside, though, this voice of mine, I guess, is just the perfect mix of genetics for whatever reason. I have two biological brothers, and we all sound very similar. We are all around the same height. I'm sadly a little shorter than them, but we all sound very similar. We all have the bass voice going. And it's honestly really funny that, like, I'm a 6-foot-tall guy with this really deep voice, but prior to 10th grade, in grade school, I was always the short kid. Like, that would always be, like, one of the short ones that, like, for, like, the school concerts for the different grade levels, I would always be on the floor or the first riser, because I was always that short. But then all of a sudden, 10th grade rolls around, and I shoot up like a tree, and my voice becomes deeper than the Marianas Trench. And, like, literally everyone in sophomore year of high school was just like, hot damn, what happened to your voice? Because it is just frickin' deep as hell. So yeah, it's not a choice for me to have this deep voice, necessarily. I mean, I do impressions. I want to be a voice actor, so my voice goes everywhere from Morgan Freeman to Elmo, and everywhere in between for impressions and whatnot. But I do love this natural bass that I have, and I'm very thankful that I was gifted with it, in all honesty. Next question is from kllrnooova. How did you find D&D, and what is your experience with it? So, for tabletop role-playing, I actually started back in college, and I started in my sophomore year of college. But I didn't start with Dungeons & Dragons. I started out with Shadowrun. And Shadowrun, for those that are unfamiliar with it, is a more sci-fi fantasy kind of setting. So there's a lot of technical aspects to it. It's still a lot of dice rolling and whatnot. So for people that like dice, character stats, stuff like that, and still role playing, it's great. Especially again for the people that love sci-fi more than the more fantasy elements of it. And I played like this giant orc bodyguard guy, and it was fun for as long as it lasted. But my DM wanted to switch to something more fantasy related. So again, before getting into D&D, I played Pathfinder. And Pathfinder it's more or less kind of a simplified-ish D&D, but with higher numbers. So very similar to, again, for those that are familiar with D&D, similar to like 3rd edition, 3.5, where there are some bigger numbers that you're rolling. And I played a snow leopard sorcerer, and it was hilarious because I would always cast fly, so I was just this snow leopard wizard guy that was just flying through the air. And my DM specifically made like 3 or 4 house rules specifically so that I wouldn't use accents for the character, because you better believe I tried giving my snow leopard catfolk sorcerer a Russian accent, and my DM was no, because he didn't like having fun. I didn't start playing D&D proper until I got out of college and I started one of my jobs that I'm 6 years into, and I've been playing with that friend group for 4 years now of playing various D&D campaigns. We started out with a 3.5 campaign where I played this character who was practically the Avatar, but also the son of a god and a greater demon, and I'm very edgy like that. But it was super fun, and I got to grow to giant sizes, and I was just hurling around axes, and it was super cool. But then one of our friends made a really broken character, because you can make a very broken 3.5 character with a lot of homebrewing in D&D, and he kind of broke it, and then we switched over to 5th edition, and then promptly dropped the campaign. We did a Strahd campaign, which is vampires, werewolves, witches, etc. That was the one actual module campaign that we finished. My friend who DMs, he likes to do a lot of custom campaigns. So that was the one campaign that was an actual module that we did. We did a more modern campaign, kind of set in like 2020, 2021, where it was still fantasy elements, but incorporating more of a modern aesthetic. And then currently, I am playing 2 variations of D&D. With my friend group, I am playing Pokemon D&D 5th edition, which is probably the most fun I've ever had with a D&D campaign, in all honesty. Like, having Pokemon and playing with it is super fun, and I would really love to run a campaign of my own someday. I've also said that about JJK, and I apologize for everyone that was super excited about that premise, but it did not come about. That was a whole episode back in the spring that we won't go back over. And then the other campaign that I'm part of with other YouTubers and whatnot is Bleach D&D, run by Poxel. And I play a character that is more Keto focused rather than a regular sword-based Soul Reaper from Bleach, and that's also been incredibly fun. And I've loved D&D, and I honestly cannot recommend it enough, especially because we're in a time frame where D&D is cool again, and that is such a weird thing to say. D&D is cool, but it is. It's been so ingrained in pop culture. You have so many celebrities and whatnot that are promoting it. It's just a lot of fun. So if you ever have a chance to DM for D&D, to play as a character for D&D, it's a lot of fun, and I can't recommend it enough for people to try it if you haven't tried it already. Because yeah, it's a lot of fun, and there are so many different homebrew things where if you like an anime-inspired D&D campaign, I guarantee you there's stuff out there. The 3.5 campaign that I did with my friends was actually based off of a Naruto homebrew for 3.5. So there is a lot of stuff out there. Moving on to the next question as I'm falling over while standing up. Wheelchair Symbol asked, you mentioned you were a fan of Gravity Falls. Any other modern or not so modern cartoons you love and would recommend? Examples: Owl House, Spectacular Spider-Man, etc. Recently binged Tron Uprising myself. 10 out of 10, gone too soon. Yes, I love a lot of modern cartoons that are going on right now, but I will admit that a lot of the ones that I've been watching have been more so online than on channels, like traditional channels. So like the more, in terms of like traditional channel ones, I really liked Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated because I loved the actual horror mystery ongoing plot that they had in that series. I never finished it, and I fully intend to do so, especially because I believe it is all online on HBO Max now. But I really loved that take on Scooby-Doo. I also loved the DuckTales reboot. The DuckTales reboot is freaking fantastic. It is a love letter to DuckTales, Donald Duck, a lot of the Toon Disney era cartoons that used to be on the Disney Channel. I absolutely love it. I still need to finish the last couple episodes, but it was so good. And then I also really loved a few of the different cartoons on Netflix. I really loved the Voltron reboot. I know there are some people that weren't big fans of like how it ended, but overall I was really happy with the Voltron reboot as a whole. I really like the Dragon Prince. It's been very fun right now. I know there are complaints and whatnot about some of the production staff and that I've seen online. But overall, I've really enjoyed the story. I've really enjoyed the characters. I've really enjoyed the representation that they got on there. The fact that one of the main side characters is this strong deaf woman is awesome. She is a badass character and I love her. But honestly, I think the one cartoon that has really been just an amazing experience for me was the Midnight Gospel. The Midnight Gospel was so surreal. The fact that like it was based off of these podcasts that were recorded and then animating them in a way that was very unique, that you wouldn't expect with the topics and whatnot that were covered in the podcast. It was just this amazing experience. It was so unique. The episode where he interviews his mother is extremely powerful. It's there's so much that goes on in that particular episode. Honestly, I fully expect myself to enjoy BoJack Horseman when I finally get into that. I never started BoJack, but it's one of those ones where it's just like, I know what I'm getting into, and I just need to take the plunge at some point. But obviously, I am viewing so many anime and reading so many manga at the same time. It just kind of becomes overwhelming at times. But it is definitely on my list. But those at least are some of the cartoons that I've watched. I still continue to watch various cartoons here and there, especially on Netflix, and the Disney Plus and Hulu as well. But those at least are some of the ones that really hooked me compared to some of the other ones. Next question. Drew from What If Universe asked, have you ever watched an anime under the influence? No, I am very boring in that regard. I'm not much of a drinker. I went to a college that has a very, very strong drinking culture, Which, I mean, that is, you could say that a lot about a lot of colleges, honestly, but Oktoberfest is a really big thing at my college in particular, and it's one where in the weekend of Oktoberfest, the population triples for that weekend only, because people love coming in to get drunk and, not be considered themselves liable, but I'm not going to get into it. But I'm someone that I never really cared that much about alcohol because of the experience of seeing other people just get plastered. It was never for me. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that I started, having a tasteful drink here and there, having wine, having a mixed drink, spiked apple cider, stuff like that. Mike's Hard Lemonade, I'll have like a glass or can of that, but I'm really only somebody that ever has like one, so I don't get enough of a buzz to ever experience it. And I have no intention of doing it anytime soon. And then for the other stuff, that's also not me as well. I am very straight edge. I am very boring. I am very white bread in more ways than one. I'm sorry if I'm very boring in that regard. It's just I enjoy getting to fully experience something and then remembering it afterwards. That's always been kind of my thing. So yeah, very sorry if that was a boring answer to that question, but it's just how it is. Rob from Dad Needs to Talk podcast asks, do you have... Oh, I skipped 2 questions. I will get back to Rob's question. Grimsabr asked, other than reaching monetizations, congrats again, what has been your proudest moment as a content creator? The proudest moment for me has been forming these incredibly strong bonds with other content creators, and getting to experience various things with it. I went over this in my thank you video, but I've been very thankful for every single guest that I've had on this podcast. I've been thankful for all the friends and content creators that have let me be on their channels and whatnot. All the massive collaborations that we've done, and the fact that like I can consider these people friends, making so many new strong friends like at this stage in my life is fantastic. Because little sappy thing here, but I am post college age. I am on the path to being in a married relationship, getting a house, having kids, stuff like that in, the next 5 to 10 years. And that's a very much a period where you start losing some of the connections that you had from high school and college, and some of your friendships start declining. So the fact that I've made so many new friends, and met so many cool people in this stage, I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of myself for putting myself out there and making these connections, and very proud of myself for working hard to maintain them. And once again, I can't thank everyone enough for accepting me for who I am, accepting me for my dolphin man persona, and everything that comes with me. So I'm proud, I am thankful, and that is, other than monetization, definitely the proudest achievement that I have, is making the connections that I have. I'm forever grateful. Moving on, the next question is from Inksmanga. Why did you start your channel? I started my channel, so like I said again in the thank you video, the current iteration of this channel is the 3.5 attempt at YouTube. I've always been interested in talking about geek culture and whatnot, and I've explored various avenues with that, but the current iteration of the channel, I really wanted to discuss more about manga and anime, and doing more of a generalized conversation on that. Because when it comes down to it, and a lot of other creators know this, like, when it comes to the algorithm, it likes things that are popular, and it doesn't like things that don't. And there are also a lot of people that focus on anime, or if they do focus on manga, they focus on very specific manga. And that's not me. I like experiencing so many things. I like sharing these things. And with the podcast that I've been doing, I've enjoyed sharing different topics and whatnot that aren't necessarily talked about a whole lot. Or giving, people an opportunity to talk about things that they wouldn't normally get to talk about on their channel. And vice versa. I enjoy going on other people's channels to do discussions on things that I don't do here. Like, I really enjoy doing theory discussions, because I don't get to do that here. I've tried it a couple times, and it did not work out viewership-wise. So that's just kind of how it is. If you want to see me do theory videos and whatnot, you can see me doing that on other people's channels, not so much here. But that's really what I wanted to focus on, was discussing more about manga and anime, especially ones that people don't cover. Covering topics about anime and manga that people don't cover. And I think I've been successful in that regard so far, but obviously I want to grow upon that. I'm on the road to 2,000 subscribers. I want to be a channel that gets to 10,000. I want to be a channel that gets to 100,000. I just need to put in the work and get to that point. But I think that if I, buckle down and I start focusing more on it, I can definitely reach that goal. All right, now we move on to Rob's questions. So, for Rob from Dad Needs to Talk podcast, do you have specific goals you are aiming for in this next year? Types of content or collaborations you want to do? Are there any manga, old or current, that you wish would get an anime adaptation? So, realistically, like I said, I want to hit 10,000 subs by the end of next year. I realize that there's a lot of work that I need to get done in order to get to that point, especially because some of my growth has been stagnated because of things affecting me in real life that has affected the channel. But I think, especially with hopefully the changes that are happening, if I am able to get a house, and a permanent place that I get to live, a permanent office, a permanent place that I can record, I think I can really bang out stuff and make this channel grow. Getting to 100,000 by next year would be amazing, but realistically, I don't think that is as possible. I'm not going to stop trying to get to that point. I will do everything in my power to get to that point, but that is something where, realistically speaking, 10,000 is more possible than 100,000, at least by next year. But I will appreciate any and all support that I can get to reach those milestones. And I will still get those tattoo goals that I mentioned in my 2021 goals video that I had. I still intend on getting the Joestar tattoo. I've just been focusing on some house stuff and whatnot recently, but I'm still going to go get that, and I'm still going to get it back here. But if I get to 10,000 subscribers, I will still get an anime or manga tattoo on one of my arms. And if I get to 100,000 subscribers, I will get a full sleeve of anime manga related content. And that's not something that I intend on backing out on. It's not something that I haven't considered already doing, but it's something that if I tie it into an achievement, I think it'll mean more in the long run if I can do that. So I fully intend on getting to that point at some point. But again, for now, 10,000 by next year is my main goal. As for types of content or collaborations that I want to do, something that was recommended to me by Aniki Smash that I really want to do at this point is a Shonen Jump Summit. Something similar to the Reverie and other, content creator collaboration stream things. I really want to do a Shonen Jump Summit and invite other channels, other people onto the channel to discuss everything that happened in Shonen Jump. At least the major things. At least having a representative for some of the major series in the magazine and really getting down to discussing things. I would also love either hosting it myself or being on other people's streams to talk about the best manga and or anime from 2021. I would absolutely love to be part of Rogers Base's video if he does another one, another stream of the best manga from 2021. Because I met and really appreciated some of the content creators from last year's stream. Masked Man was on that stream, Project Manga was on that stream. I would really love to be a part of that just because of the sheer amount of manga that I consume. So I think that I would be a really great asset to discuss that, and I think I could do it fairly. And even if I'm not part of Roger's stream, if he does one again, if other people invite me on to do a best of 2021 stream, I will gladly be a part of it. And depending on if other people invite me to do them, I will create my own. I will definitely let my opinions be known on what I think were the best series from 2021, but I would love to be part of various streams for it. But other than that, I really do want to do that Shonen Jump Summit, because I think that would be fantastic and a great way to get other creators and whatnot in a space rather than just focusing in on one series. And then when it comes to any manga, old or current, that I wish got an anime adaptation, I'll go with old. I'll go with the one that I will beat the dead horse with, Siren. Siren deserved an anime. It never got an anime. It had over 150 chapters, but Shonen Jump never greenlit an anime for it. I want a Siren anime. I want one. I'm probably never going to get one, but I really want one. And then otherwise, for modern manga that I want to get animes, Undead Unluck and Sakamoto Days. Hands down. I want anime for those two. Mission Yozakura Family too, but I really want Undead Unluck and Sakamoto Days a little bit more. I love those series, and I want to see them animated eventually. And I think that we will get them animated eventually. It's just a matter of when. Manga Crash asks a question. So, what is, like, your opinion on, Build King? Build King. First and foremost, I still need to read the 5 chapters that were released after the fact. I haven't seen them translated online. I know they were released on the Japanese Jump Plus website, but I never saw an English translation for them. Build King was just a hot mess, honestly. Toriko is one of my favorite series that I've read. It is the manga world that I would live in, hands down, over any other series if I had a choice. And Build King was just this cheap imitation of Toriko, and it was frustrating. Because I read the one-shot for Build King, and it was very, very different from what we got. I did not gel with the main characters from Build King. They chose a power system based on colors in a black and white manga, and then decided, oh hey, yeah, those are just basic colors, but what if there was rainbow and gold and black and luck, which is totally a color. It's not color, and oh my god. Again, they copied and pasted so many things from Toriko into Build King, and it just did not work. It did not. I would not be opposed to the author coming back with another series in Shonen Jump, but if he's coming back with just another poor Toriko clone, it's not going to work. It didn't work this time, it won't work again. So I will forever make fun of Build King into the future. That has become a part of this channel as much as... Well, not as much as Orphe is part of this channel. But I digress. The Build King is synonymous... Like, Build King hate is synonymous with this channel because I love Toriko so much. And if you are trying to make the argument that, oh, you have to be a Toriko fan to enjoy Build King, no. If you want a better series, read Toriko. Do not touch Build King. It is not worth it. That is my piece for Build King on this episode. DonnieYelm asks, what are one anime and one manga you wish you could experience for the first time again? So for anime, hands down to be Yu Yu Hakusho. I love Yu Yu Hakusho's anime. It is the quintessential 90s anime. I have watched it multiple times. I probably watched Yu Yu Hakusho 4 or 5 times through. I've read the manga once or twice through, and it's so good. It really is. It's just a series that I love, and I would absolutely enjoy getting to watch Yu Yu Hakusho again fresh if I had the opportunity to do so. In terms of manga, number 1 would be One Piece. Just because it's One Piece. I mean, come on. I have, like the Shonen Jump issues from Japan with $9.99 and 1,000. I've got 2 of the box sets. I'm still trying to get the other 2. I've got multiple figures of One Piece and whatnot. I love One Piece. And the story of One Piece is fantastic, and it would be so spectacular to just get to experience that again, experience all the plot twists, experiencing the things that like Oda hints at, like chapters at a time, and then 400 chapters, it's there and it's all connected. It would be amazing to get to experience that again. The one other one that I would say would be Eyeshield 21, because Eyeshield 21 is probably my favorite sports manga. I have reread Eyeshield 21 6 times, probably, and I'll probably reread it a seventh time, because I do fully intend on finishing my Arcs That Anime Forgot series on Eyeshield 21. Does it have its problems? Absolutely. In a modern setting, very troubling things. But Riichiro Inagaki, he's kind of fixed that in later things with like Dr. Stone and whatnot. But I love Eyeshield 21. I love it so much. I love the character growth and development that the main character has. It's got Yusuke Murata's art, which that in itself is great. Like, seeing his growth through Eyeshield 21 prior to One Punch Man is fantastic. So hands down, I would say like One Piece and Eyeshield 21 would be the 2 manga that I would love to experience fresh for the first time. And then anime-wise, Yu Yu Hakusho. It would be amazing. Kind of a specific one, but what's your favorite early 2000s Shonen Jump series that wasn't one of the big 3? And I apologize, I cut off the name on this one, so I apologize to the person that asked this one, and I will edit it in post, so you will see who asked this question. But, once again, Eyeshield 21. Eyeshield 21 came out in 2002. So I would absolutely say that Eyeshield 21 was my favorite early 2000s series outside of the big 3. Hands down. And it ran from 2002 to 2009. It was fantastic. The only other ones that I would say would potentially reach that level would be Shaman King or Yu-Gi-Oh! Both of which were absolutely fantastic series from Shonen Jump in that time. But Eyeshield 21 definitely takes the cake for me, even though Shaman King is the series that I completed collecting before Eyeshield 21. But that's just kind of how it is. I would say Eyeshield 21 would be my number 1, Shaman King would be my number 2, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be my number 3. But I absolutely love those series, and yeah, I think more people should either read them or watch them. Don't watch Eyeshield 21's anime. It is garbage. The only good thing about the Eyeshield 21 anime is the insert song and like some of the openings. Otherwise, the anime, garbo. So, I digress. I would say Katekyo Hitman Reborn as well as in that discussion, but the other 3 definitely top it for me. So, that would be my list. Okay, now we're getting into a bit more of the spoilery territory. So I'm putting that notice out there first. lasherluke asks the questions: what are you expecting the next big story arc for Mission Yozakura Family to be about? And what are your top 10 moments in Dr. Stone? So, first addressing Mission Yozakura Family. So, spoilers ahead for those that have not read Mission Yozakura Family. There will be a link to the next question after this, and the next question after that for people that don't want spoilers on Mission Yozakura or Dr. Stone. Alright, with that out of the way. So, For Mission Yozakura Family, the next arc has definitely got to be something related to the father from Mission Yozakura Family, and something that was hinted at in the latest chapter with the double one, so the official 100 chapter. I think we're going to see other characters that resonate with Taiyo because of them having some kind of blood connection to the original head of the Yozakura family. They kind of hinted at that in the chapter, with this like one random girl kind of looking as the wind that was blowing. So I think the dad is probably going to find a group of these people that are somehow related, and that will be part of the next storyline. They might still be related to Tan Popo. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think we are definitely going to see that as the next group of enemies or whatnot. Because, I mean, that's kind of what makes sense in the natural progression. Like, the family has just faced off against people that had the artificial summoning running in their blood, so it kind of makes sense that the next step from there would be people that have traces of, like, the original Yozakura heads' blood running through their veins. I'd be very excited to see what happens from there. Whether or not we get to see, like, other spies level up, maybe there's a new level to, like, the blooming that they experience, we'll see, but I think that at least is what the next arc is going to be relating to, would be certain things with, like, other characters that are resonating with Taiyo because they have the head Yozakura family blood running through their veins. Moving on to the second question with my top 10 moments, top 10 parts of Dr. Stone. So once again, spoilers here. I'm not going to go into too much detail with it, but first one would be the Treasure Island petrification teamwork moment. So the moment where everybody knew that the island was going to be getting petrified, so everybody put up their hands in the air and stood in a line so Senku could literally measure how fast the petrification light was going so he could outrun it. That to me was one of the first first big moments of like, oh no, everything might come to an end because of the petrification stuff happening a second time in the future. And then the main people that like know what's happening facing off against a legitimately evil person. The teamwork, the dedication, like the fact that everyone was willing to risk their lives to make sure that Senku had a chance to survive and then bring them back was super cool. And I think that is, at least so far, my favorite moment in Dr. Stone. Past that, number 2 would be Senku and Tsukasa versus Hyoga in their fight. Number 3 would be the Chrome versus Magma fight. 4 would be Byakuya's sacrifice to gather platinum. That one's just really emotional and powerful. The fact that this man spent his life at that point gathering platinum and making things possible for the future, believing in his son coming back in the future, it was a lot. That was my favorite part of Byakuya's story, and like it was absolutely crazy. Number 5, as my voice is cracking here, number 5 would be Suika's fight for the revival fluid. So again, a similar situation. After the whole Xeno fight and whatnot in South America, the fact that Suika had to live for several years by herself to get revival fluid again was a crazy powerful moment, and I love Suika's character. It was just impeccable seeing her grow as a character, both metaphorically and literally, and I think it was a great move on the manga's part to have that included. Number 6 would be Ryusui and his brother making amends. Number 7, the first battle for Zeno. Number 8 would be the second battle for Zeno. I think that the first one kind of beats the second one, but that's a personal opinion of mine. Number 9 would be Kaseki being accepted as a friend / part of the Kingdom of Science building team. I thought that was really great. Kaseki is one of my favorite characters from Dr. Stone, and getting to see him feel accepted after decades of like feeling alone, like his skills and whatnot necessarily being appreciated for how great that they are, like that was really emotional, and I loved that. And then number 10 would be Death Green. Everything related to that. The first time that they interacted with absolutely deadly chemicals, and it was the first time that Ginro had character growth. And I love seeing him grow as a character throughout the series, but like this was the first time where it was just like, all right, there's that spark. That's really cool. And I love how they, visualized it of just like, oh, it's a beautiful woman, and it's like, oh no, it's death. And I mean, the art in Dr. Stone is just top notch, and that was just another example of it. So yeah, those would be my top 10 moments from Dr. Stone. By all means, they might change, especially on a reread or a rewatch, but at least for right now, I'm feel happy with that ranking. So yeah, but I would definitely be interested to seeing and hearing what other people think and what their top 10 moments would be in comparison. All right, we are in the home stretch now. Home stretch now. Oh my gosh, I'm fumbling over my words. That's how long this has been going on. Especially with standing up and whatnot and drinking water on the side. Not that you are seeing it on camera because the power of editing. Anyway, last 2 questions. So, first up, we've got from Shonen Ouji. With at least MHA and Dr. Stone in their final parts, to what extent do you think another Exodus might take place in Jump? So, absolutely. We are going to be experiencing another exodus of series and Shonen Jump within the next 2 to 3 years. Honestly speaking. So, Dr. Stone is, at this point in time, either going to end sometime in 2022, if I had to say, or if they can somehow stretch it out, it'll end in early 2023. I don't think it's going to end this year. I think it's going to last past that. But just giving a safe estimate, Dr. Stone is going to end either sometime next year or at the beginning of 2023. I think that's enough time to go over the last bits of plot that they need to. But that's what I think there. As for other series, My Hero Academia is seemingly in its kind of final phase right now. I could see My Hero Academia ending in 2023 or 2024, depending on how far they want to stretch things. But that's definitely ending eventually here. Mission Yozakura Family is another one that, if it's allowed to run its course, I think is going to be a 200 to 250 chapter series. So that would also put it in that 2023 to 2024 range. And honestly speaking, I know Mashal, the author said that Mashal is already like halfway over, so that would put it in that time frame. And Undead Unluck is probably another series that's going to be like 200, 250 chapters. One thing that you got to consider right now is that we, in terms of manga, compared to what they used to be, they're not making series that just go on indefinitely anymore. For manga creators and whatnot, they have a plot in mind. For the most part, they have a timeline that they want to achieve, certain plot points that they want to go along the way, and then they execute it. They don't go on forever and ever and ever. And the editors aren't necessarily pushing that either, because they want to get in new talent. They want to get in veterans that want to have a second series or a third series or a fourth, depending on the author. They want to cycle through things and they want to be in the moment because they've discovered that you don't have to have a series that goes on forever like that anymore to sell a lot of copies of the manga volumes. Like, Demon Slayer is a perfect example of that. Now, that being said, Demon Slayer is also an anomaly in and of itself. Honestly speaking. It's a series that, like, the anime made it explode, and it made people very interested in it, and there were a lot of volumes available for people to buy, so they bought the backlog for it, and that's a similar thing that has happened for Jujutsu Kaisen and Tokyo Revengers, and it will happen with other series as well. It's guaranteed to happen with Chainsaw Man. I could definitely see that happening if Mashal or Undead Unluck get an anime eventually. That's just kind of how it works, but, like, you don't have to create these series that go on for 600, 700, 1,000 plus chapters like you had with Naruto, Bleach, or One Piece. You don't have to do that anymore, and the editors aren't necessarily pushing for that because there are really great series that come out and run for shorter periods of time. One thing that people need to understand is that, like, for a manga to sell even 10 to 20 million copies in its print run is a big success. Like, there are only so many manga in the history of manga that have sold over 20 million copies. That is a big thing. But there's a lot of people that they focus on the really big numbers, and for good reason, of series like One Piece or Bleach or Naruto or Demon Slayer, or from things like Weekly Shonen Magazine with Fairy Tail that I mentioned the podcast with Tokyo Tron, have had big numbers, but you don't have to have that for it to be successful, especially with multimedia deals at this point too. Like, the fact that, like, there is so much money that is made from an anime, from anime movies, from video games, from merchandise tie-ins, from promotional events, all things that we in the West are completely oblivious to because we're not experiencing it firsthand. And I fully intend on making a video on this eventually, by the way, because that is a big thing that people need to understand. Like, there's a lot of money to be made. There are a lot of series that can be super successful, and you don't have to have a series running forever and ever to get to this point. So that being said, rounding back to the question of the Exodus, it's going to happen within the next 2 to 4 years. And that's a pretty common cycle at this point. Like, we just, for the more or less, finished filling up the Shonen Jump roster again after the last Exodus that happened in 2019. And that was, again, with another... It had more series that had, like, 300, 400 plus chapters, but still, it is very common to see a mass exodus of series every 4 to 5 years, because series have run their course. They've run for that 200 chapter span of time, and that is more than enough to tell most of these stories. So that is my thought process, is that we will see another exodus sometime in 2023 to 2024, and more on top of that. Whether or not One Piece actually ends in 5 years is anyone's guess. But yeah, there will be a mass exodus. We will see series like My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, Dr. Stone ending. I'm guessing we'll see series like Mission Yozakura, Mashal, and Undead Unluck ending as well. And Black Clover is anyone's guess, because Yuki Tabata, depending on his health and whatnot, could go on forever if he really wanted to. Not necessarily that he would want to, again, given what's been going on with his health. But I digress. There's no word on the street of when he would end. And honestly speaking, if a lot of the big series end, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept Black Clover around for a semi-sense of normalcy. But yeah. And then, last question, and this is a big one, is from Tokyo Tron. Honest thoughts on the current state of Jump and what would need to happen for the magazine to surpass the Big Three era. So, I love where Shonen Jump is at right now. I love the fact that I can read every series in Shonen Jump on a weekly basis. And that is something that we did not have until Yuna of the Haunted Hot Springs ended in 2019. Up to that point, like, there was a more limited amount of the weekly simul-release manga from Shonen Jump. And the fact that we have everything now is great. And on top of that, the variety is fantastic. From the veterans to the new blood in the magazine right now, there is stuff for everybody, and it's absolutely exciting to see all this great stuff come out. The fact that we've had like these monster rookie series, which I shouldn't necessarily say monster rookie series for all of them, because like some of them are veterans. I mean, the fact that like Matsui came back with Elusive Samurai, and Volume 2 sold over 100,000 copies on its first run is insane to me. That doesn't normally happen with new series at all, even by veteran authors necessarily. It's crazy. And I just love where we're at. There are so many great series. I love reading almost every series in Weekly Shonen Jump. I read everything. Everything. I read through Build King. I read through Mori King. I read through Time Paradox Ghost Rider. I read through Bone Collection. I read through all the not great things. But I enjoyed the experience because we get to experience them all. Like, it's fantastic to me that I get all this variety. And now I recognize that I'm speaking more so about access to Shonen Jump than necessarily Shonen Jump itself. But I love what we're getting in Shonen Jump right now. My top 4 series are One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Undead Unluck, and Sakamoto Days. Those are my 4. Honestly, probably have Sakamoto Days over Undead Unluck at the moment, but that's 2 veteran series and 2 newbie series that I am enjoying every single week that I get to read them. They are amazing. Not to say that I'm not enjoying My Hero Academia, Dr. Stone, Black Clover, Mission Yozakura Family, Mashal, Witch Watch, Elusive Samurai, etc., etc. I'm enjoying all of them. It is great. And I think this is one of the strongest lineups and times that we've had in Shonen Jump. Now, as for meeting or surpassing the big 3, I don't know that we will ever get to that point again, honestly. Because in terms of manga sales, yes, Demon Slayer surpassed Bleach in terms of its sales. I don't believe it surpassed Naruto yet. But in terms of sales, I don't know that we'll ever get to, like, multiple series in the magazine at the same time reaching those kinds of sales numbers. I don't think that we'll necessarily get 3 simultaneous series that are as big of a worldwide phenomena as One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto were. I could be very wrong. I think why we kind of missed the boat is with Demon Slayer ended, technically. Yes, I get that the anime is still ongoing, but the manga has ended. Like, we are missing that really big flagship series that, like, made everyone go crazy. My Hero Academia, I think, out of all the series in Shonen Jump right now, is probably the one big series that has the broadest reach in terms of multi-channel revenue and products and whatnot. So, like, while its manga sales aren't going to reach the same levels necessarily, especially as Demon Slayer, it's had such a big impact on anime and culture around the world. Jujutsu Kaisen is on a very similar path right now. Chainsaw Man could definitely be part of that too, although with Chainsaw Man Part 2 eventually coming to Jump Plus rather than Shonen Jump, whether you want to still count that is whatever. The one other thing that's kind of bogging things down is the very competitive nature online with other people. In order to promote their series, they're trying to kick the other series at the legs and bring them down to bring their series up. So I think that's more detractive than supportive. If we get to a point where there are 3 series or more that people are just overwhelmingly in support of, I think we could see another Big 3 era. Whether or not it's at the same level of the Big 3 is another question entirely. But I think that there are so many variables and whatnot that even if things were at the level of the Big 3, whether or not people would admit that is another question. There are a lot of people that will live and die by the Big 3, and they will say nothing can meet it, nothing can surpass it, and that's true of anything. You will always have people that are combative and are trying to be stuck in their ways. I think it's possible, though. I think it is very possible that we have 3 breakout series that people worldwide love. It's just a matter of seeing people being universally supportive of them rather than just focusing in on 1 or 2. I think it's possible. And I do apologize, Tron, if that's not fully answering your question of whether or not it can meet it. But it's very subjective. I think culturally, we are at a point where we are very close. Because My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen, which are currently running, have a very strong hold worldwide. Whether people want to say it's of the same level, higher, or worse than the Big 3 previously is another question. And whether you want to even include One Piece in that discussion as part of this new era, again, is super debatable. But I think it is possible. I think it is very possible for there to be 3 or more manga in Shonen Jump running that has a big impact, like the Big 3 does, or had. But again, it entirely depends on public perception. But with that said, that wraps up our Q&A. I want to thank everybody that submitted questions for me to answer. It's been very fun. It was great getting to think about these, contemplate them, and share them with you guys. And by all means, if you have any other questions, do ask them down in the in the comment section. I will answer them. And I do enjoy answering them. It just won't be in a video format at this point, but it's fine. And if you have any thoughts on any of the things that I mentioned, any of the things that I said with the question and answer, by all means, let me know about those down in the comment section as well. Other than that, if you have made it this far into the video, into this podcast episode, thank you for being here with me. If you are not subscribed already, and you want to hit the subscribe button, that would be absolutely amazing. If you want to hit that bell icon to be notified anytime I make a new video, hit that bell icon. For those that are subscribed already, thank you. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for coming back with me to where it all began. And regardless of if or when I move, just more so when I move rather than an if, while I might not be in the same formats of these bookshelves and whatnot, it's been great being here. And we'll probably have 1 or 2 videos in front of these bookshelves before I move, but it's been a great ride. This isn't the end of the ride. This is only the beginning of the ride. But I can't thank you guys enough for being here with me for it. And I hope to continue making content that you guys love, that brings you back, brings you as part of the discussion. And I absolutely look forward to the future with you guys in this channel. But for now, my name is Axel Blaze. Gonna say thank you with Orphe here. For those that didn't get to see my Japanese volume 3 of Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin, I've got 4 volumes and this guy's on number 3. Thank you for being here. Thank you for submitting questions, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.